Everyone, great to see you all. Shame this isn't face to face with a cocktail in hand at the magistrates, but great to see you all nonetheless. I think there's going to be a tropical storm outside, so do bear with me. I hope the audio stays all right. And just in terms of housekeeping, if we could just keep ourselves on mute unless we're speaking, we will be doing just quick intros, so obviously just unmute yourself for that. And whilst the speakers are on, I'd suggest us putting it into speaker view. And in terms of questions for our speakers, I think because there's so many of us, if you could just drop your questions into the chat box, then Nat and I will then feed them to the speaker instead of kind of putting hands up and trying to work out, who's got what to ask. So we'll do our best to answer as many of the questions as possible. And then, as Nat mentioned, at the end, we'll have more of a forum, a chance for us all just to kind of chip in and come up with questions that we may have for one another. So then we will just ask you to use the little icon, which is in the reactions, like either a thumbs up or a hands up. And again, we'll just try and get through as many of you as possible. But that's the housekeeping out of the way. Great to see so many new faces. Not all of you have been to a Hive event, so I'll just run really quickly through what Hive is. Nat and I formed Hive nearly 4 years ago now. We were both freelancers and feeling quite kind of isolated and disconnected. So we wanted to create a very welcoming, informal but inclusive community for freelancers and business owners, a place where we could meet others who are also in a similar position and talk about the challenges of being freelance and self-employed. We wanted to learn through others, through guest speakers, and learning and being inspired by other successes of businesses within the area, and also share, practical advice and tips with one another, and also hopefully collaborate and partner with other businesses in the area. So that was the kind of idea for Hive, and it's been wonderful to sort of see how it's evolved over the years. And obviously we've had to move everything online now, but we're finding that it works quite well because it allows everyone to kind of have their moment, and it means that everyone in the room is kind of included. So we've really enjoyed them so far. So thanks again for joining us. Nat's going to say a little bit more.
As Kamal said, when we started Hive, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just a network where you went and had a few drinks and maybe met another business owner who maybe you'd see periodically, but we really wanted to encourage all of us to learn business skills and help each other through skill swaps and collaborations to make our businesses more successful. So we do this through a variety of forums. This is a quarterly event that we usually host in the evening at the Magistrates in Walthamstow, as Kamal mentioned. We do weekly meetups at the moment called Hive Meets on a Monday at 12:45. And that is more of a discussion group where for an hour and a quarter, 15 or so businesses meet and we talk about each other's challenges and help each other out. And people have been bringing polls to those groups to to ask what people's buying habits are and just to try and understand what's going on right now with the COVID era. We also run workshops, and we've just run a social media coaching series that was really successful that we're going to be running again in the autumn. We run a business coaching group annually, which is like a success group that I run. So that's who we are. We're going to go around the room, I think, and introduce all of us so we all know who's here. And the idea is as well that you're able to do a bit of networking, although this isn't the greatest forum for it. So at the end, I'll ask you all to put your details in the chat. And if you want to share your details with the people in the group, we will actually share your Instagram and websites and email addresses if you like. So back to you, Kamal. I would just say, I was going to say as well, like today we're also, we've got Bev from YTKO and Outset, which is the local borough's startup training program. And we're joined by quite a lot of the Outset group today, which is fantastic, and we're all looking forward to hearing from Bev as the second speaker too. Kamal? Yep. I think Kamal's frozen. What we're going to do is oh, Kamal, I'm going to start the introductions, and I'll see if your internet stabilizes. So what we're going to do is go around the room, and everyone can introduce themselves and their business, and And then afterwards we'll move on with the speakers. So I'll kick off. I'm Nat Harrison, for those of you who don't know me. I'm a local business coach, and I work with businesses on a variety of things, from their vision and strategy through to their marketing plans. Carmel, are you back with us?
Sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
You do the intros now.
Yeah, you want to introduce?
Sorry, so I'm Carmel King. I'm a freelance photographer. I work with lots of makers and manufacturers in the area.
Okay, do you want to introduce Victoria? Do you want to introduce yourself next?
Hi, I'm Victoria Cousins. I'm co-founder and director of Perky Blenders, of which we have stores in the borough, and we also roast coffee, and we also have an online platform and subscription service posting out all over the UK and the world.
Ava?
Hello, I am Ava. I run a very new zero waste delivery service. So we deliver food, toiletries, refillable cleaning liquids, all in reusable and refillable packaging. So glass bottles and cotton, organic, fair trade cotton bags. Some of you have seen on Instagram, they're very cute. But yeah, we only started about 2 months ago, so we're very new.
Thanks, we're glad to have you, Ava. I'm just literally going around my screen, so if you think I'm jumping around, I apologise. Unfortunately, Zoom doesn't give us the same view. But next we have Bev from Outset and YTKO.
Hi everybody, really good to be here. This is our second event with the Hivers, which is just a fabulous community, and I think Nat and Carmel have done a great job in sustaining this group over 4 years. I know how hard that is sometimes, and I think it's terrific and a really great atmosphere. So YTKO, we provide business startup support, business growth support in the public and the private sectors at very large volume, turning over several million. I've had lots of businesses in my career, ranging from one-man bands to micro businesses as well. So really seen a lot of different things and experiences. And I just want to say that the service in Waltham Forest, which is continuing until the end of this year, it's a 2-year program called Outset. It used to be originally just for startups and businesses less than 1 year old, but due to COVID, we can now support anybody, no matter how long they've been trading. You can all come along to workshops to get additional support. So if you are looking for help in any of the things we do, then you can now sign up, because those restrictions have gone since we had our last event with Hive. So great to be here.
Fantastic news, thanks Bev. Esther. I can help unmute you if it's hard, okay.
I actually work freelance in costume design, and I've kind of hit a bit of a quiet spell, obviously, as all the TV and film has kind of come to a standstill for the moment. So I'm kind of here as a bit of an observer and just hoping to listen to some inspiring people and get a bit of inspiration for maybe how I might take my life in a slightly different direction.
Awesome, thanks Esther. We're glad there's somewhere for you to go in this quiet time. It's hard for, I guess, for theatres and that side of things.
Yeah, it is.
So next we're going to go to Sarah Dalrymple.
Oh, hello, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Dalrymple. I am a sales and visibility expert and personal branding photographer. So I help creative businesses build strong personal brands, feel really good about selling online, and ultimately just build more meaningful connections with their clients.
Cool. Thanks, Sarah. And Annie?
Hello.
There you go.
Hi. I am a writer and I run online courses, an online course business that launched a year ago kind of by accident and is now a lot of what I do. And I have 3 young children who you might hear in the background screaming. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Annie. Thank you for joining us. Annie's obviously our first speaker today. We'll make apologies for all young children. I sometimes have a visitor as well. So anyone's children, very welcome. We like a baby at the end in these events now. It's become a bit of a tradition. Bernadette, you're next.
Hi everybody, so I'm Bernadette and I am a Waltham based visual and content strategist with a branding photography background, and I usually just help my clients to have more purposeful strategic content online and just take the overwhelm out of creating content and showing up for their audience and have a very clear message about what they do and how they do it and who they do it for.
Thanks, Bernadette. Siobhan.
Hi there, thanks for having me here. So I'm Siobhan Mears. I have a virtual assistant agency called Vantage VA, based in Waltham Forest as well. We help entrepreneurs by taking care of their protracted admin tasks so they can focus on business growth and their creativity. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Siobhan. Melissa.
Hi, I am also based in Walthamstow. I am a writer and consultant, and I'm looking actually at setting up a homewares business. So again, I'm kind of here just to kind of get inspired and get motivated for that. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Patrick. I'm trying to unmute you, Patrick, but I don't know if it's easy for you. You might want to press space bar. There we go.
Yeah, so some of you might know that I started off as an artist about 2.5 years ago. And then I ended up going into photography, which I offered family, couples, everything under the sun. And I think I joined Outsetters at that point. But what's evolved is I've ended up being a portrait and boudoir photographer now. So that's my main income now. But obviously, and then I relaunched it as the Goddess Studio, literally 2 months before lockdown. And we actually had a full studio on the month before lockdown, and then it just went, obviously nothing's happening at the moment. So during lockdown, I've gone back to doing art while I'm just, working on marketing and other things like that.
Oh, bit of a portfolio career there, Patrick.
A bit of a what?
A portfolio career.
Oh,
lots of different things. Thank you. Laura.
So, hello, I'm Laura. I am a colour and material designer. I have a studio in Waltham Forest as well. I mostly work in the areas of trend forecasting, kind of colour psychology, and then also application colour strategies for lots of different types of businesses, mostly design businesses. And I am secretly the other half of Daniel Heath's studio, which sometimes I don't always reveal. Daniel Heath is an illustrator, bespoke textile and wallpaper designer who also lives in Waltham Forest. And we've been living here for about 6 years now. So yeah, nice
Thanks,
to see
Laura. Good to see you too. Humaira.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, oh brilliant. Something came up on my screen. Hi, I'm Humaira. I've lived in Waltham Forest all my life and studied fashion design, and now basically got involved in denim in a big way. It's kind of like taken over whole my branding, and since that I love denim. I was soul searching what I wanted my denim to be about at my graduation, and it was about solidarity and freedom, and from that it's created to something now as a brand where I tried to get scraps of denim and put them together. So I've done denim bags recently, and that before the lockdown I was supposed to sort of like launch it in a kind of like a pop-up shop in Waltham Forest. It didn't happen, so unfortunately, but I've basically been keeping myself busy making masks. Going to be making scrubs for the NHS soon as well, for Homerton and Whipps Cross. Yeah, so I really just need, I want to learn how to market myself. I want to learn how to put myself out there, I suppose, and tell my story, and I suppose make a kind of a funky, fun denim brand. Basically, that's what I'm looking to do.
Sounds cool. Thanks, Mara. Nicola?
Hi everybody, I'm Nicola. I'm a writer. I'm a writer for 1 day a week, and I'm an HR specialist for 3 days a week. I am here today and in the Hive group predominantly for my writing, because that's the business that I'm trying to build. I'm also a mum, and my son, I've been booted to the corner of the room, so I've got my son on the sofa, so if you keep seeing me doing things, I'm opening snacks and doing that. So yeah, that's me.
Cool, thanks Nicola. Yeah, if people want to turn off their videos as well when the speakers are on, obviously feel free to do that, no problem. So next up, Martin.
Yeah, I'm Martin. I run Unholy Bagels. We make traditional New York style bagels and sort of fun and interesting fillings, and we do that in one of the Perky Blenders cafes, actually, the one in Leighton. Yeah, so that's us, that's me.
Thanks, Martin. Next, Louise.
Hello, yeah, I'm Louise. I think I've met a few of you. Hello, I'm a social media consultant, and I'm based in Leighton. So I help small businesses, individuals. I consult on their social media. So from the perspective of how these platforms, these beastly platforms work, I come from kind of like an editorial background, but how I consult is I really get people to understand how these platforms work in terms of algorithms and data, and making sure your accounts are all set up properly. I recently was 1/3 of the social media coaching series with Sarah and Bernadette. Hi ladies. Through Hive. So yeah, we're the yings to our yangs with that. So yeah, nice to meet you all.
Cool. Thanks, Louise. Fizzy? I've unmuted you, Fizzy.
Oh, yeah, okay. Hi everyone, I'm Fizzy. This is my first Hive event. I recently joined James Harrison at James UK, working on his furniture business. So it's a bit of a change of career for me. I've had 15 years buying experience in homewares and lighting, worked at Habitat and Made, but now I'm moving over to the supplier side and taking on some of the things I'll be working on is marketing for James, for the furniture business, and kind of growing it. So just kind of here to learn as much as possible.
Cool, how exciting. Lovely to meet you, Fizzy. Next, Helen.
Hi everybody. So I'm a communications consultant also based in Walthamstow. I help small businesses, charities, social enterprises. This is my first Hive event, so very excited to get stuck in. And thanks to Bernadette for recommending it to me. So looking forward to meeting everybody.
Welcome, Helen.
Thank you.
And next we've got Sonal.
Hi everyone, this is also my first event. So I'm a nutrition and wellness coach. I work with busy people to help them eat well and live better. And my practice is all about kind of looking at eating well, but in a creative way. And what I mean by that is it's kind of imbibing the joy of cooking from home again, and doing so in a very short time when you've got kids to worry about. And I do things like personalised cookbooks. I do food coaching sessions, so that's when we work together for a longer period of time and really get to grips with the issues that are affecting you and how you can eat well for yourself, because it is individualised. And I also do nutritional cooking classes and private chef work too. Looking forward to getting to know everyone and learning from you.
Thanks, Sonal. And Charlie.
Hi everyone, I'm Charlie Blair. I'm the founder and CEO of social enterprise, the Blair Academy. We are a hip hop dance company, and we envisage a world where hip hop brings health, happiness and well-being to the lives of many. We launched in 2018, so I've been through the Hive program already. So I'm really lucky to still be welcomed back and still be part of the event. So thanks for having me. And yeah, just looking forward to hearing the speakers and hopefully meeting some new people, building some new collaborations. We have, like many, gone digital through the lockdown. So all of our stuff is online now. So yeah, just looking forward to seeing how we can continue to grow in this new way.
Thanks, Charlie. And last we had Victoria, who is in creative work, so she can't speak to us. But Victoria is a furniture designer and makes very beautiful interiors. So, so thank you. Welcome to everyone for joining us. Very interesting, lots of services. And I'll pass over to Carmel, who could probably introduce herself again, actually, because we didn't quite catch what she said, and then we'll carry on with the event.
Yeah, I'm on mute now. Hi, I'm Carmel King. I'm a freelance photographer. I work with lots of makers and manufacturers documenting behind the scenes, so the kind of story behind the brand. I work on location, and I've also got a studio called Host in Leighton. So that's me. Fantastic to see such a varied group of people as always. And let's hop over now to speak with Annie. So if you put us in speaker view, and we'll get stuck in as we're slightly behind time as there's so many people joined us. So Annie, welcome.
Thank you.
Quick intro to Annie for those who don't know about Annie Ridout. She has had a career in journalism, writing. She published a book with The Freelance Mum. She has an online digital parenting and lifestyle magazine called The Early Hour, and you've now earlier this year launched the Rabora, which you do consultancy for and lots of online courses, don't you?
Yeah.
So perhaps you could just tell us a little bit about these amazing online courses that you offer. They seem to have sort of exploded with, you know, with the COVID era. You know, it's more timely than ever, it feels.
Yeah, so I launched the first course last year, and it was off the back of my book, because the chapter that people kept coming to me about was how to do your own PR. And I was coming at it, I'm a journalist, I'm still a freelance journalist, and I was also working as an editor. So I had people pitching to me, and I was also pitching to be commissioned. So I was able to teach people how to do their own PR in a sort of slightly different way to your traditional like PR manager. So people were asking me for advice because they liked the chapter of the book, and I created a course around it, thinking it would be nice to have a bit of extra income, because up to that point I was earning kind of just enough to make it to the next month, and there was no savings or anything. So I launched this course and sold the 10 spaces that I was offering, because it was sort of giving weekly feedback in a couple of days, and was amazed, and launched a second month of that one, and then launched a next course about how to become your own boss, so how to go freelance or start a business. And that one started to do really well too. And then suddenly my career had pivoted from kind of journalist, editor, author to those things, but kind of also with this online course business. And because I quickly realized that is where the money is, that's the bit that has become my main focus now. And my husband quit his job to help me run it. So he's the marketing manager. And we, a few months into it, launched a course on how to launch your own course. And that became quickly our most successful course. And that's the one that's been doing really well during this period, as lots of kind of creatives and people are trying to work out how to transfer their work to sort of online workshops. So that's the online courses, and that's on I started that on annieridout.com, my personal website. And then I decided I wanted to try a kind of membership type thing, and to work more closely with some of the people, because I'd grown this Facebook group and I loved all the interaction and the questions and stuff. So I decided to launch the Rabora, which was a 4-month program that started on the 1st of March. So sales were kind of beginning, sales had just ended as coronavirus hit. So it was like in some ways amazing, because I signed up 15 one-to-one clients, and my work was set for 4 months. So they'd get access to my online courses, and they were all people who wanted to have help with the online side of their businesses, or to one woman was actually starting an online business. But it did mean a couple dropped out, and I had to kind of navigate that, which was quite difficult, because I was like, we were all panicked, and so I was trying to support the people who had changed their minds and couldn't do it anymore, whilst also trying to look after myself, because that is my family's entire income at the moment. But it's been really good because most of them stayed on, and I've helped them to make changes and grow their online profile and get some of them have had amazing press coverage. One is an artist who always did live workshops, and she's now taken it online and she's had loads of success. So it's been really exciting to see how they have some of them have pivoted to online for the first time, and others.
And I guess, everyone's having to go online now, aren't they? They might, I think this will be the dilemma for a lot of the people joining us today, that some of their usual outposts, whether it be retail or markets, it was all kind of face to face. They're now having to take it all online. Have you got any practical tips in terms of just really making your brand visible? So kind of marketing tips to, how do you shine and how do you compete with all the thousands of brands that are online now?
So you sort of mentioned this in an email, and I had a chat with Rich, my husband, about what basically we do so many different things. I focus a lot on Instagram and growing that account, and that's about engagement, but I also do sell directly through my Instagram stories. People don't like me talking about courses so much on the grid. It's basically, I do Instagram, I do all the social media platforms, I have an email list, we do Facebook ads, so we do loads of different things, and it can feel, I've just done a course on how to sell spaces on your online course, and it's about this sort of omnipresent idea of making yourself sort of visible everywhere, and people are like, oh my god, that's a lot, and it's quite daunting, especially if you're starting out with the online stuff. So Rich said what I should talk about is we're now we're doing video funnels, so video workshops, which basically anyone can do, and it's a way of introducing yourself and your business to people who don't necessarily already know you. So if I say on Instagram that I'm launching a new course, my followers already, lots of them know what I do, and they're either in or they're out. But for people who have never met me, they're very unlikely to sign up to a course and pay £300 because they don't know if they can trust me, and they don't know that I'm good enough at PR to teach them how to do their own. So the idea with a video funnel or video workshop is that you put together some really good tips, advice. It might be one really good tip in a 10-minute video, and you kind of talk around it, and you use Facebook ads to get it out to
that's a free piece of advice, like a free training.
Yeah, so it's like a free training. So people do webinars. I call it a video workshop because I don't like the word webinar, but it's basically, so I did one recently on PR, and it was like my 3 top tips for how to secure press coverage. And a lot of people, and then we send it out to our cold audience, so people who don't already follow me, know me, they haven't done my courses. And what we saw is that some people were using this video and going and getting featured in magazines and stuff, which is amazing, and they didn't need my course. But they all, to access the video, they have to give an email address. So they all join the mailing list, and there's a possibility that down the line I might tell them about a new course, and they might then sign up. So I guess, yeah, the idea is about making yourself more visible, and that's what we're focusing on at the moment. Most of our
and it's also finding different ways to sell, because I can imagine a lot of people, especially at the moment, find it quite uncomfortable if all their posts are about selling.
Yes.
So it's finding ways of posting, keeping up the engagement,
yes,
whilst pushing ideas but not actually hard selling. Is that right?
Exactly. And this is kind of behind the scenes. So on Instagram, I could just not talk about, the idea with the funnel is that I could just not talk, I could just talk about being a freelance mum and how this period is for me, and then in the background there's this video workshop going out and people are signing up. It's all through Facebook ads. I don't have to talk about it on any of my feeds, and they're getting this information, and then importantly joining my mailing list, and then they get my regular newsletter, and then they, as well as sort of automated emails to encourage them to then buy a course. And then they're kind of part of the community, and and then that's another way to engage with the community through the mailing list.
You're talking about this omnipresence. Does that just mean it's really important to sort of spend time on social media, obviously develop and build that audience, but would you still give time to the kind of more direct marketing in terms of, like you said, the newsletters, working on your SEO and your website, maybe even printed collateral, all those kind of other areas? Do you think those are still vital in this kind of digital age?
I do think so. Like, it's because I started doing the SEO thing way like 6 years ago when I launched my first platform, the Early Hour. I kind of forget it. I automatically do it. Every time I name a course, I'm thinking about the SEO. So I forget what it's like to go back and not know anything about it. But basically, you do want organic traffic from Google, which you get from kind of carving out a niche and using the right words to get your target audience to find you. But I think a lot of people, I don't know, in terms of blogging, I still think it's a great idea because you can get your keywords in there. A lot of people are keener to watch videos, which is where the video workshop thing comes in, or like the video funnel. But the omnipresent idea is I think it is good to focus on one platform and to do it really well, rather than spreading yourself too thinly so that you've only got sort of 5 followers on each platform. But once you've started to grow a bit of a community on each of the platforms, so it might be LinkedIn, Instagram, your Facebook group or page, and Twitter, then it's worth kind of putting out the same content on all of those platforms and on your blog and on your email newsletter. So it doesn't mean you have to do 6 times as much work. You can spread the same content far and wide is the idea.
And I was going to ask about that because it just seems, I'm always amazed about how much content you put out, you know, how much time that must take. But I imagine you use tools, do you, to kind of plan and kind of post those for you? Like, do you use Later and Planoly?
I actually don't. I used to use Hootsuite. I have tried Planoly, but my new thing at the moment, which I think is my long-term thing, is to take a more intuitive approach to business, which means that I only post on Instagram if I feel really inspired to post and there's something that right now matters to me and I want to talk about. And I then post. I don't schedule anything, I just post when I feel like it. And then I'm there to respond, because I'm sure everyone knows that it's good to engage. As soon as you put out a post and people start commenting, if you start engaging, then it's good for the algorithm and it sort of snowballs. But my approach to everything is to be more intuitive. So I'm trying to take time away at the weekends because I want to be with my family, and so I don't go on social media. So I don't use scheduling anymore. And then some people have said that Instagram prefers if you don't use one of these.
It feels more intuitive and less kind of businessy, I guess.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, I guess it's, you never quite know how the algorithm favors some posts over others, but they can obviously tell if you've posted directly into Instagram or if it's come from Hootsuite or Planoly, and apparently they like you to do it directly in. So
have you found the fall off in engagement recently with the algorithm? A lot of people are kind of finding that engagement has really fallen. I don't know, how much do you kind of try and keep up with the algorithm?
I haven't actually, but a few of the women I'm working with on the Rabora have, and we've been looking into it. I know there are some things, like little things, like all the social media platforms don't want you to send people elsewhere. So apparently if you do create a blog post and you write a post on Instagram and say, you know, follow the link in my bio, the algorithm picks up those words and doesn't show as many people, because it doesn't want people following the link in your bio. It wants people staying and engaging in the app. So that's like one of the things I've heard. Yeah, but I've not noticed it, but maybe, I don't know, maybe that's something to do with scheduling platforms. And
well, it's the whole, yeah, I mean, Instagram is a whole world in itself. And so just to move things forward, just because we're so short on time, in terms of businesses reaching new clients, I think, you know, I speak from experience. I'm working on my website at the moment. I'm trying to use this time kind of productively to kind of do the behind the scenes stuff, so that, you know, in the next few months I can kind of relaunch, you know, where I'm at. In terms of finding new clients and increasing sales, have you got any tips that you're just able to share with us now in terms of that?
One thing I've found that's worked amazingly for me is to have a private Facebook group, and people get access when they buy a course. And this has become a really supportive community, and they sort of almost don't, it feels like they almost don't need me in there, because they all sort of promote their stuff and have conversations. But when I have something to sell, they're all interested. And so that's kind of about repeat custom, I suppose. but also just about like the whole community thing, creating, if you can create a community where people feel like, so for you, a closed Facebook group where you offer like photography tips for photographing yourself from home and things like that, those people will start to feel really warm towards you. They're learning from you. They can see that you know your stuff. And then when you say I'm doing one-to-one work, some people will be like, great, because I actually can't be bothered to do it from home myself. I'd like you to do it instead. So it's basically about giving away as much as you can for free. So your mail out, your email newsletter should be loads of like tips and sharing, rather than, I think there's a tendency to panic, and I definitely did it at the beginning with the courses, and to just only sell. And every post was, do you know I've got a course? And every email was a course, and here's a sale, you know, to get people to sign up. And actually, if you can just like calm down a bit and try and give lots of stuff away, actually you're creating a really good vibe and a really good community. And then when you do occasionally try to sell, people are a lot more open to it.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point. Thank you, Annie. Nat, do we have any questions in our chat box? I'm going to switch back to gallery view. Thank you so much, Annie. I feel like, yeah, there's so many questions I could ask, but I am keen just to open it up to the floor if we can. So Nat, have you got any questions?
Not yet, but I've got one. So if anyone's got any questions, if you want to write them in the chat, and we'll field them directly to Annie for you. Annie, I was just going to ask about, you know, you were talking about using video more going forward, or using that as another avenue of marketing. What do you know if there's anything to do with SEO on video? Like, can you use captioning or anything like that that can help to maintain the keywords and help your SEO? Or
a very good question, and I don't have the answer, but I do have a related tip.
Okay.
which is that captioning does really matter. One, because a lot of us watch the videos without the sound on, and like for me, I often watch stuff when I'm breastfeeding my baby, and so I need the sound off. Also, you might have people who are deaf who follow you and want to engage, and we found the best way to get captions is to use a website called rev.com, rev.com, and you upload your video. You have to pay $1 per minute of your video, but the captions that it creates are perfect, and you don't have to change anything. It can pick up on like different accents and stuff. It's really clever. And then what you have to do, if you want to use that video on Facebook or anywhere, or IGTV, where you've got to upload it as one file, you have to download from Rev your video and your SRT caption file, and then you upload them to a free website called Capwing, Kapwing, and you upload both files, and it basically turns them into one, and then you download that. And it sounds really convoluted, and it kind of is, but it actually doesn't take that long, and it's just the quickest way to create captions. Because if you use one of these like Capwing to actually upload your video and get the captions, it can take hours, and it's just not worth spending the time doing it.
Oh, yeah, I realized last week we did a Zoom to Facebook group Q&A session, and then I realized afterwards you can just click the captions on, and Facebook just creates them miraculously. I was amazed. But yeah, that sounds, for Instagram, I didn't know how to do it. That's really really useful, thank you. Just out of interest, any tips on optimum Instagram video length, or how to do a great Instagram video?
IGTV, I think you can only do 10 minutes unless you have a certain amount of followers, but I think that's quite good. I think this is what we're seeing with the video funnel thing as well, that I have signed up for people's funnels for sort of research, and they'll have like an hour-long video, which is a lot of upselling and never really getting to the point or sharing any useful information. If you keep it really short and really good value, people will engage with it, and they'll kind of want more from you. But if you make it really long and it just becomes boring and people drop off, you've lost them, and they're probably not going to come back. So I'd say just like as long as it needs to be for what you're talking about, keep it really focused. Don't try and cover too many things in one like IGTV video. Just make it really specific, and then let it kind of make it as short as you can get away with, I guess.
Cool, thank you. Nicola's got a question. So Nicola's also a writer. She was asking, as a writer, how do you engage existing or new followers with your words, if that makes sense? Because she finds that with Instagram being such a visual platform, it's kind of, it's more tricky. Yeah, and also because she feels that on Instagram quite often people tend to just go for the visuals and just scroll looking at visuals and never actually go into the caption particularly and read them.
You know, I was interviewed for a podcast recently, and the woman said to me, "You're known on Instagram for writing very long captions," and I was like, "Oh, am I? I didn't know that." But I do, and so I think if you write captions that people do engage with, then they're willing to kind of click the read more thing or whatever it is to read a whole caption. But it's an interesting question, Nicola, and I recently had this idea to create an Instagram caption template so that anyone who finds it hard to write captions could use this kind of template to get into the flow of creating a structure that people will kind of engage more with. So your question has made me think I will go ahead with that.
Thanks.
Keep paragraphs short, definitely. I'd say at the moment I'm trying to just do like one line and then a space and then another line. And if you don't know how to create spaces on an Instagram caption, top tip is without having to like do a dot to separate the lines, you get to the end of the line and you've got a full stop, and then you press return without creating a space, and then you get a space between the lines.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I didn't know that either. Instagram's tough to make things look pretty, I think, on from a writing perspective.
Yeah.
So we don't have any more questions from the floor. I probably have another couple. From a marketing standpoint, because obviously you were talking about being omnipresent, do you like how do you manage that? Especially, well, I guess, how does your husband manage that? Like, do you do proper planning of marketing and like talk about what themes you're going to talk about over certain periods, or?
Not really. We do, because we've got 3 kids and obviously we're all at home and just kind of juggling everything. What we do, we tend to work towards a campaign. So if we've got a new course launching, then the content in the lead up will be related to that. And Rich, my husband, will help me sort of think about what the video workshop needs to be for the funnel that we're putting out. And then we both work on copy, depending on who's got the time and the energy for it. Copy is really important, and I think that's often overlooked. And I'm now encouraging copywriters I know to offer their services in writing Facebook ads and scripts for video funnels, and to write online courses for people, because that it's such an important part of it, the words. Like with a Facebook ad, the image does matter, but if you then open it and the words are crap, you just lose people and they won't even go through to sort of watch your free video workshop. So we do plan, but it feels quite like last minute and month by month. We'd love to have a long-term strategy and actually stick to it, but at the moment it's just like deciding what we're working on next and then creating a campaign around it. And then Rich does the videos, I do all the Instagram stuff, he's not involved, but our plan is to move everything onto the Rabora, the new platform. And I want to move away from my name and my face, basically, and that will be just for online business. And we will develop we are developing a clearer strategy for like selling on that platform.
Cool. So thanks, Annie. Yeah, that's it's always interesting how other people approach marketing, isn't it? Because I'm last minute too, and I always think, is anyone out there really organised and like?
I guess it's back to that intuitive thing as well. It's like you need to, if you've got something coming up that you're promoting, or you've got a new service, or you need one-to-one clients, then that's what you talk about. But in terms of like whether some people I know schedule like a month's worth of content up ahead, and that's just it's not really us. We feel that we need very loud motorbike outside. We like to kind of take it, kind of share the content when we have the energy to like properly engage with it.
Cool. Thank you. We've got one last question from Siobhan. Do you focus on one platform more so with your ideal client's presence in mind? So I'm thinking she's thinking, have you got a typical type of client on Facebook, a typical type of client on Instagram, one on Twitter?
I focus a lot more on it. What I tend to do is create content for Instagram, and then when it does well, I'll turn that caption into a LinkedIn post, and I will put it in an email newsletter and send it out, and I'll put it on Facebook. So my answer would be Instagram is where my people are, and that's who I'm kind of targeting. But then I always think, well, if people have engaged well with it, there might be people on the other platforms who will too. And so that's how I do the omnipresent thing, is I just literally put exactly the same copy and spread it across all the platforms. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Thanks so much, Annie. That was so interesting, and we're really pleased, because obviously we had you come and speak at a Hive event years and years ago now. So it's so interesting to see how your business has grown and shaped. So we're really pleased for you. Thank you. So now we're going to move on to Bev. Bev, if you say hello, we'll be able to see you as in the main speaker view.
Hello.
Hello, how are you? So for those of you who don't know Bev, Bev's been working with the borough for, I think, the last 18 months. Yep. And she is, aside from being the CEO of YTKO, she's a serial entrepreneur and a mentor, and you're also an angel investor. And you've been working with small businesses practically your entire career, haven't you?
Certainly the one with YTKO, yeah, that's for sure. 20 years.
And so you, having worked with small companies, I guess, for 20 years, you've got hands-on experience, and you know exactly what small businesses need in order to grow and be successful. And so we asked Bev along because the Outset programme does focus quite heavily on marketing and the sales side of things. So we're going to pick your brains on more of the traditional side of things, rather than we've been talking more digitally with Annie. So I guess when I first started thinking about this, I was thinking as a newer small business, or as a small business that is faced with a different situation, being, you know, this current situation with COVID, how do you decide what type of marketing to do and just where to start with it all?
Yeah, a really good question. And first of all, thanks very much to Annie. I'm not a digital whiz, so it was really interesting to hear all of your tips and your experiences. I couldn't agree with you more that content is king, always was, always will be. And when you start, well, whether you're starting out or whether you're in growth mode, there are so many different tactics that you can use to raise awareness and interest about your products or services. It can be pretty daunting, and a lot of businesses go straight to tactics, in my experience, without thinking strategically first, and then they wonder why they're not getting enough traction with those customers, not getting enough sales coming through. So what we try to do in our training sessions and our coaching one-to-ones is kind of start off with a strategy, and in particular making sure that businesses aren't selling to everybody, especially I could count the number of times people have said to me, well, I'm selling to, you know, all women or SMEs. Well, that's millions and millions and millions of people. So you need to really narrow things down and start focusing on exactly who your target prospect is. As somebody mentioned earlier, your ideal clients. You need to have a really, really strong understanding of who that person is by all sorts of different metrics. So you could have gender, if it's business to business, size of business, geography, sexuality, whether they're parents. I mean, 101 different ways of refining that ideal target client. And the most important thing then to inform what marketing tactics you need is to know where they go to find out information. So A good case in point is now, obviously, we're all online, particularly when we're researching things and looking for suppliers or looking to buy stuff, we go online first. But depending on who your audience is, they might get their information in very, very different types of channels. So a manufacturing company, for example, very unlikely to be on Facebook or Instagram. So if you're selling to manufacturing companies, you almost don't need to bother with digital. That's a sweeping generalization, because they'll find their information out from print, from trade shows, from catalogs, and from word of mouth as well. So understanding where your ideal prospect gets their information is key, and then that's where you start, because you always need to put yourself in the mindset of who you're selling to really understand where they go, what they do, what do they look like, you know, as much visualization as you possibly can. And think about, okay, so do they go to spas? Do they go to supermarkets? Do they go to garden centers? Talking consumers here. Where do they go where I might be able to get my message or my content out in some way or other? And the last bit of that bit is really understanding why they would buy from you as distinct from any of your competitors. So it's about making sure your content and your brand really differentiates you from all the rest in a way that's meaningful to me, the buyer. Not just because of what you think is special about what you've got or unique. Is that relevant to the people who you want to sell to? If you understand that distinction is really important, because we're all passionate about what we do and we want to get it out onto the market, but it's about turning that on its head and thinking about our buyers and saying, okay, if I'm a buyer and I'm looking at my website and lots of other websites, do I stand out? Do I attract them? Do I get them into that funnel, the sales funnel that Annie mentioned, to start that nurturing journey towards a sale?
And when you talk about the sales funnel, because obviously online it's kind of it's actually more database, you can actually see whether someone's warm or not.
Yeah.
But often I think when it's traditional marketing or we're doing flyers or advertising or anything, it's difficult to get any data back. What would you recommend people do to help with that side of things?
It's so much easier, as you say, if you're doing e-newsletters, for example, you can track opens and click-throughs and see what people then go and download from your site or what they visit. So Google Analytics gives you all that basic data. And obviously with social media platforms, it's really easy to see who's engaging with you or not. And if you're thinking about PR, for example, that's very hard to pin down exactly the impact that's had on your customer acquisition rates. And it's important to think you may just need one channel, but you may need 3 or 4, and repurposing the content across them. So one good way that we know is very successful is people giving stuff for free. So whether that's a download or whether it's a workshop pre-COVID that you could say, well, I'm going to do this for free, just hire a room and share your expertise. And anybody that rocks up is obviously very warm and very interested. You've got a room full of warm leads. You could try putting codes on pieces of print. So if you were doing some flyers or some posters for any reason, maybe to target a particular geography or bit of your area where you live, you could put a code on the piece of print, and if they contact you, so the code would drive them to a different landing page on your website, so you know which ones were responding. So in the old days, we used to have letters and numbers, QR codes, same sort of thing, but a digital version of that. So there are other ways of measuring it, and I think the important lesson is always to say, if you're not on a direct social media platform, is how did you hear of us? You know, if you can get into the habit of asking that question, And that's really, really important because it feeds back into your strategy about what's working, you know, which of the different channels and the different tactics are working best for you and your prospects, more importantly.
Thanks. Yeah, that's really interesting actually, about like, remember, like people often feel uncomfortable actually asking someone how they came to you, and I think it's really important to get into, have like a process when you first greet a new customer, but then you can actually you know, further down the line, just make sure you're asking that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be up front, but it's all about having that conversation. If you're not driving to them to the web to then go and buy something, so in other words, your funnel is kind of pretty cylindrical. But if you're in the sort of business where you do have to nurture them along a bit, as long as you ask it at some point, I find that most people are really happy to give you an answer. Now, it might be the wrong answer. Maybe they read something about you in the paper, or saw you online, or heard something. So, but at least it's better than nothing if, you know, if you put that question at some point into the conversation.
And then you were sort of talking about distinguishing yourself from competitors, so understanding why someone would buy from you rather than someone else. I think in my experience with clients, like with competitors, either people just want to blot them out and ignore them that they're going on, or they can become kind of obsessed by them and like worry that they're not doing as well as the competitors. So like, I guess like practically, what should we be doing with our competitor analysis in order to help our marketing, I guess?
I don't think you can ever obsess too much about competitors, because if you don't worry about your competitors, you're not going to have a sustainable business, right? Because we all have choices nowadays. There's always competition, 99.99% of the time, unless you have something amazingly disruptive, like, you know, iPhones when they came out or whatever. So most of us live in a world of competitors, all offering the same thing. And as some of the people in the meeting know, who've been on my prosperity course, we do this exercise where we ask people what's unique about them. And as soon as like 10 people have said professional or knowledgeable or whatever it is, it's like, okay, guys, you know that you're not unique now. And I bet your competitors are using the same words as you are. So it's important, because content and these messages are so important. Partly it connects back to understanding the messages that I want to hear as your buyer, that are important to me, which will be different from Charlie over here. So if I'm your ideal client, the more you can make your messages speak to me, the better. And you need to constantly search for whatever you're offering on Google, online, wherever you go to get your intelligence, and look at those people's platforms and accounts and websites to see whether, from a buyer's perspective, you're all saying the same thing. Because if you are all saying the same thing, how can I choose which one to come and buy from? You know, I might look at 3 or 4 and it might be arbitrary. Whereas if you have something that zings out, whether that's a caption or a phrase or a picture that resonates with me, I'm not going to look so much at your competitors. So you might, I don't know, feature a money back guarantee, or delivery in 5 minutes, whatever it is, something that makes you stand out from the crowd. And if it's really, really hard, and it sometimes is, to find this area of what we call competitive advantage, because lots of businesses are sort of Me Too businesses, then there's only 2 ways of differentiating yourself. One is how you market, and the second is about the other things you do, particularly around CSR. Used to be corporate social responsibility. Now the phrase is social value. Are you doing anything for your community or the environment that your competitors aren't, that you can put on your site or your platforms to help distinguish you from everybody else that's selling the same thing?
Oh, that's really interesting. Thank you. And obviously, after you've been doing the marketing, the next thing is actually, you know, clinching the sale or converting those warm clients into clients. What would you suggest people do with regards to the sales mindset? Because I think so many people are just, when it comes to sales, they'd rather turn around and look the other way. You know, I think it's not very natural for most of us.
Yeah.
And it's often got a dirty word associated with it as well, due to used car salesmen.
Yeah, I think in the UK we are a bit unique, and there is a sort of cultural thing behind it, because we had this transition of, you know, like door-to-door salesmen just pushing stuff at us, whether it was in my day, Encyclopedia Britannica or vacuum cleaners or something. That was the way that people sold, was, you know, pushy salesmen knocking on doors. And then that got replaced by constant phone calls at all hours of the night trying to sell us double glazing or insurance or whatever. So we have this quite negative image about sales. It's pushy, it's sleazy, it's relentless, you know, all those sorts of cultural connections around this absolutely critical business function. And in my experience, so we've supported probably around 22,000 businesses to grow, half of them women, and it's great to see so many women today. There's a gender element in it too. Men are far more ballsy about asking for the sale than women are. And I think partly that's because of, again, macro factors like our upbringing, not pushing ourselves forward, not being brave, being seen to be pushy. You know, women typically don't like to feel like that. But we have all moved on a long, long, long way from sales in the old days. And now that was very transactional. And one of the great things about technology is that it has enabled us to be much more relational, to build that relationship up with your prospect, to understand about their needs in detail, needs or wants, and how you can help them address those needs and wants through what you do, and helping them to understand that. But still, so that should appeal to women because we're really good at building relationships. But still, at the end, you have to ask for the business. And I've got various sources of questions and techniques you can use to get you over that final hurdle. And I think particularly is for people that are selling themselves, they are what they sell rather than they have a product or a service. That final step is harder because you are the business. And it was very interesting to hear Annie say, couldn't agree with you more, Annie, on your strategy to start removing yourself a little bit as the face of your business, so that it becomes more of the business. I'm sure you don't have a problem in getting sales, but in my years of supporting businesses, I think that the more you can think about the service or the product you're offering that you're asking for the sale for, rather than do you want to buy me? Because you wouldn't have got to the end of the process if they didn't want to buy from you. So you have to think, right, okay, well, we've answered all the questions and there's no more objections and, you know, everything's going fine. Go for it. Have we got a deal? Can we close the business? When can I start? You know, we have to just go and ask the question.
And just bite the bullet.
Just bite the bullet. And more, it's like public speaking is when you do it I remember the first time I ever gave a public lecture donkeys years ago, and the sweat was running down my back into my knickers. You know, I could feel it. It was so awful. I was so nervous. And like asking for the sale, the more you do it in a supportive and friendly atmosphere, the easier it gets. So anybody who's been hesitant, go for it.
Can I just bring Annie back in at this point? Because I've really noticed over the last sort of 3 years that your confidence in sort of just literally talking about numbers, you'll do that now almost quite proudly. And I think that's brilliant as a woman. Like Bev says, it's not the easiest thing to do. And, you know, it's certainly the hardest thing I have to deal with is kind of, you know, asking for the fee or trying to up my fee over the years. I find that so hard still, and that really frustrates me. But I've really admired watching Annie kind of proudly talk about numbers and just saying go for it. Is there anything you'd like to add, Annie?
That's really nice of you to say. And what is quite interesting is that so when I started selling the courses well, the reason I was talking about how much I was earning, which was quite quickly 10 grand a month from online courses, and I wrote a piece for Stylist about it and was really open so that other women, particularly women with young kids, could see what was possible. You could create a career around kids. You have to work hard, but I wanted others to know that it was possible to earn good money, not just to scrape by, as I had been up until that point. But what also happened, and this wasn't my intention, was that people were like, oh shit, you're selling loads, so they must be quite good. And so then you get more sales. So actually, you know, it's being open about having clients and growing your business. I think it's important to balance it out and also say that, you know, when you've had a hard time, maybe not at the time, but once you're through it, to talk about that as well. Be open about the challenges. But I think women particularly really appreciate other women talking about money. I love hearing how much other people are earning. It gives you an idea of like what the because you need to kind of do your market research when you're setting your fee or your course price or whatever. Yeah. So it's when women talk openly about money, it helps other women, and that's why I do it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Annie. And talking about the hard times, I remember sobbing on my kitchen table, wondering how I was going to pay, you know, wages, VAT, all the rest of it, and thinking, is this all going to go tits up, and drinking lots of wine. So I kept the wine drinking habit, but fortunately I've come through some of those other ones. So I think it is good. We do need to get more confident about talking about money. You know, this is why most of us, unless we're in a social enterprise or charity situation, we're in it to make money. And even people that are doing good as their job have to get to be sustainable, so they still have to sell. And
you know, what I found it was interesting is that women wanted to hear about how much money I was making, but men found it hard. Like my dad said to me, because he runs businesses, and he was like, don't think you should be talking about that, you'll put people off, it's a bit crass. And I was like, okay, maybe, I don't care, I'm going to do it because it's my business. And it ended up being a good thing. But I've had quite a few men and like male friends tell my husband they're a bit awkward about me talking about money and should I be so open. Men, I think, sometimes men can find it harder because we're not used to hearing women talk numbers.
Exactly. There needs to be more women out there shouting about it to help other women, not in that, oh, look what I've done. But you know, you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, but you can do this. That's really important, because the other thing I think that affects a lot of this is our confidence levels and self-belief. That's another gender thing. And it's like, yes, you can do. I mean, all the women in this room all having a go, and the men. So, you know, it's about taking heart and inspiration and motivation from everybody that's around you. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was just going to add to that we thank you obviously for Patrick and Martin being here, and there are going to be other guys listening to the recording afterwards. But what we find with Hive is like a lot of men are like, oh, are you just for women? But we're like, no, we are a business network, but we have a lot of women that come, and we want to, you know, we want it to be fine for having more men than women in a business network. It's, you know, it is, that's how it is. It shouldn't even be seen as anything. You know, if we were 2 women in a whole room of men and we were business owners, would anyone bat an eyelid? No. So it's just about, you know, like just normalizing it and it being fine. And, you know, and I work with a lot of guys who on confidence issues and who are not quite sure about how they're doing sales wise either. So we also shouldn't generalize that all men are great at, you know, are more confident and great at selling too. So Annie had a question for you that kind of hooks in with the last question that I was going to ask. So Annie's question was, should all businesses have have some form of digital marketing. And then I was going to tack onto it. So like, what should small businesses be doing to increase their sales digitally?
Is that for me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I come back to the answer I started with, which is, yes, you should have an online marketing strategy if you know that is going to play a part in how your ideal prospects get their information. Then the answer to that is yes, you should have an online strategy. What that strategy is, whether it's confined to e-newsletters driving people to great content on your website, or how much of it should be social media, you cannot say, I can't say, you should have 30% of your marketing activities, your tactics, spent doing online stuff, because I don't know who any of your target audiences are. So nobody can generalize, and if they try to, then they're wrong, really wrong in my experience, and responsible for a lot of fear and uncertainty and doubt and worry about where do I go online, what do I do, how much time should I be spending on it, because it can take time, blah, 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 is because there is this kind of sense that people are feel compelled to go online. So I have to say, start with the strategy. What are you selling? Who are you selling it to? Why should they buy from you? And where are they going to get that information? And if they're going to get that information from Instagram, just do Instagram. If they need other decision-making things, other content, whatever, to put them into your platform, do that somewhere else. And if they are all over social media, which you can find out, then you need to be all over social media too. So for me, it's all about starting with as much assumption as you can reasonably make about which platform and how much, based on putting yourselves in the shoes of your recipients, your profitable ideal customers.
Cool. Thanks, Bev. Thank you so much. That was really, really useful. And I also feel like you've distilled down, like marketing can be overwhelming and also it can cover such broad things, but I think you've distilled down for us the 4 things that you really need to think about constantly. And that's really, really helpful.
Can I just say, before you take my mic away, is if your marketing isn't driving you sales, you're doing something wrong. It's as simple as that. The whole function of marketing is to drive sales. So you have awareness, interest, demand, action. So if you're not getting any action, either your messages are wrong or your channels are wrong.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Cool. So we're not going to take your mic away completely yet, Bev. We're just going to ask people if they've got any other questions about anything they want to pick yours or Annie's or even mine or Kamal's brains about to help them with the challenge at the moment. So if anyone wants to, just raise your hand and you can speak directly. We don't need to stick with the chat.
Amira?
Hi. I hope you can hear me. It's just always, I've got background noise. I can hear it all from behind. Sorry. Question is, there's a lot to take in. I would say I'd have to probably come back and think, okay, what do I need to tap into if I was going to get myself out there? I know it's definitely marketing, and it's even deeper in that respect. So where we're having to look at the different platforms and how we can get those messages across and to a certain core people who would be interested in my product. So I mean, I wanted to ask from both of you, is it possible that there be a next process where it involves fashion in regards? Fashion is a big massive minefield. I think denim in itself is a different, so I'm in a denim niche, say, and I want to kind of like understand how to get myself out there and promote myself. I think this is what I need to learn. I need to educate myself to get move forward. So it'd be really interesting. because I actually feel like I'm literally loads of information coming in. It's just like, oh my God, what do I need to tap into? What you know, literally.
I think it's such a huge subject, and something that I've only really developed over the last 6 months is my niche. I think it's taken me so many years to develop my niche that I haven't felt ready to market myself properly until now, because I think I've needed to know what my message is and what my product is. And I think it can take years to develop that. And I think it goes back to confidence. Like, we're only going to feel confident selling and marketing ourselves once you know exactly what it is that we're selling. And Bev, you know, said that at the beginning. It was kind of, you know yourself, know your product back to front, so that you then know who your buyer is, because it's you have to kind of work back from who your buyer is, I guess, don't you?
I'd say with denim, from what you said, that I would recommend you are on Instagram and Pinterest, because it sounds very visual, and it feels like you could start telling your story, and you would have some great imagery, and you can start telling your story and why you're doing that kind of work, and just start to see how people respond, and it can grow from there. And I think it's good to start out without the intention of selling on those platforms, but just getting your story out and get people kind of interested in what you're doing.
I think the whole COVID thing I was looking into a different way of an approach, because I'm literally had to run to the door because I've just put some masks up and people are interested in buying them, and I had to have a conversation with them. But I've had to think, hold on, let me do it in a creative way, because I'm more of a visual person. I'm sorry, I'm useless at typing. If I have to ask a question, it'd have to be visual, speaking, because I'm dyslexic, so writing is not my forte. And imagery is my caption and how I get it forward. And I think that's what I will lean to. So I was quite interested when you said getting your product out and having keywords or a channel or something to get people interested, or I mean, I always try and keep any message that I've got on Instagram. I've got a good following, but I'm very, very slow on keeping up to date. I get lots of messages about, oh, you should be really constantly plugging something, constantly be on there. Every day there should be something on there. I mean, there's quite a lot of, like, I suppose it's me finding where I'm comfortable, but I sometimes think, well, I'm not doing it right.
I think that just comes over time. Like Carmel said, you find your niche over time. Sometimes your niche finds you, because you start selling for me online courses, and then I realize only women buy them, so now I do mostly courses for women, and you know, your niche just makes itself apparent sometimes. But I think it's okay to not know exactly what you're doing, and to just be trying things out. And definitely you don't have to be on Instagram every day. Like, if you're going on there and what you're putting out is interesting and people are engaging, then the algorithm will favor that than you feeling you have to put out a post every day, but it's a bit kind of forced and there's not much like energy behind it.
So kind of like being more real, I suppose that's where yeah, definitely. I think that's just this whole scenario is kind of re-educated in the COVID situation. You think, okay, you know, people want to touch, people want to look, it's a whole different way of like having to operate in. So it's interesting, and having to really think not narrow, but literally, okay, how am I going to, you know, position myself? Yeah.
Are there any other questions from the floor? I mean, I'll just jump in quickly in case anyone else wants to write it in the box. But yeah, one thing that I'm struggling with is I really want to get those face-to-face meetings with my portfolio. I don't just want to be sending digital links out via emails, because so often that just gets lost in the ether. And I'm worried about, you know, this next phase of people kind of working from home, not coming into offices. Have you got any tips? I guess I could ask for Zoom meetings. I hadn't thought of that, but you know, for people who rely so much on the face-to-face, if it is you that you feel like you're selling, and you rely on the rapport and the meeting to kind of talk about your stories.
Yeah. So absolutely. Now Zoom is at your fingertips, and everybody over the last 3 months is accustomed to doing that, and it is a good relationship building tool. Carmel, you might benefit from coming on the course next month, which is the 3-session course, because especially if you've found your niche. So that's always a good start. But even if you hadn't, it takes you through all this stuff and the different stages to, well, understand what success looks like for you and create that kind of roadmap so that you can see whether you're going down it. But B, then fleshing out this whole marketing, competitor differentiation, value propositions, marketing strategy, and sales. So it might give you that kind of little boost to help you get over that last bit.
Sounds great. Is this a good chance, Nat, for Bev to talk about?
Yeah, I was going to ask actually, because the courses, because you were saying at the beginning that the courses are now open to everyone in Waltham Forest, not just people on the Outset programme, and they're starting on the 7th. Are they Mondays?
Yes, we still need to enrol people in, just so that we can collect data to report back to the council. But yes, so anybody that's in business in Waltham Forest can come on any of the courses that we promote. I do the Planning for Growth one just because it's one of my favorites and I love it. But we've got marketing stuff, we've got some more startup stuff, we've got some business resilience stuff coming up as well. So that will be going out shortly. This particular one that I've talked about is 3 sessions, which is starting on the 7th, and then we've got the 16th and then the 21st. And actually Martin has been on it. So Martin, you know, I hate sort of, you know, spouting off. You went on it. Would it be useful for some of the people in this group, do you think?
I would heartily recommend it to anyone who's got questions about where their business is going. You know, it's, for me, it was just an amazing insight into just some of the questions that I hadn't had the time or the you know, thought to ask myself, and you know, some of the techniques and examples you ran us through were really helpful. So I honestly, I think anyone in this room would probably benefit.
I owe you a bottle of wine.
That's great.
But it's all free, and so it's like, well, why wouldn't you know, have a go and dip in and see? Because the borough are funding us to deliver these services to free for businesses and for startups. So yeah. It's like, yeah, grab it while you can, because who knows how long it's going to last. So actually, we could perhaps, Nat, if you or Carmel could circulate something out afterwards with the registration link, and then anybody who wants to can see what's on offer.
Yeah, we will do. Or you could, you can put it in the chat as well, Bev, and then we'll send it out to everyone who wants.
That's put me on the spot now.
Okay,
okay, what's Sarah's Outset address?
No, I'll follow up with them to get it. And Annie's just said as well, just to everyone. To let everyone know that she's got a course starting on how to get more clients. That starts the 6th of July, and she's got an early bird discount on of £100 off.
It's in abundance, ladies and gents. You know, you've got all this riches at your disposal, so go for it.
And actually, we've just run a 4-week social media training that's covering your messaging, how you know, basically what sort of content to write on Instagram and Facebook, how to structure it, how to save yourself time, and also like what the algo wants and what's new. So that's still available as a recording online on the Hive Facebook group, so on the Hive website, as well as the Instagram groups. So there's loads of stuff going on. Actually, we should all be nailing our marketing over the summer, and then come September be selling en masse to everyone who's then out and about. So we do wish all businesses good luck, because we know it's a really tough time, and it's been really turbulent to navigate. So if you do want some additional support, please come to our Hive Meets on a Monday as well. We're a really supportive group, and we can answer any questions you have. So yeah, so just to wrap up, I want to thank Annie and Bev so much for sharing so much, and we hope that you guys got a lot from today. We usually would have been at Perky Blenders with Victoria serving as lovely toasties, so we want to thank Perky Blenders for always supporting Hive as well. Carmel, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, just to say that we've also got a private Facebook group, so that's just Hive Collective. You can search for that on Facebook, and it's just a kind of extension of this, really, a place to support one another, ask questions, you know, and if there's anyone that you want us to help put in touch with, then by all means get in touch with us and we'll pass on the details. But yeah, thank you for joining us today. Really great chat. Thank you to our speakers, and stay in touch and have a good summer.
Yeah, we'll be back in the autumn with our next event, so look out for that on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
So,
Super.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.